Thank you, Carla. Next, I'm very happy to welcome Kevin Jurer, who is going to share some of the history of the No. 2 Construction Battalion with us. Kevin is a Deputy Superintendent in the Ministry of Community Services and Correctional Services. He is a retired captain from the Canadian Armed Forces Reserves. Over his 34-year career, he held many senior positions, including Regimental Sergeant Major, and Diversity Advisor to the Chief of Defence Staff and his team. His deployment to Sierra Leone as a senior military advisor was a life-changing experience for him. It gave him the opportunity to work with the Republic of Sierra Leone Armed Forces to improve their leadership capacity and general military skills. Now, that's really wonderful. You wonder if some of the people in World War I could have imagined that being where we were today. He is an associate minister at North Peel Community Church and a mentor to many. Some other activities also include being a member of several boards of directors. Kevin has received a number of awards, including the Order of Military Merit and the Harry Jerome Professional Excellence Award. But he says that his greatest award is his relationship with his family. Kevin?
Good morning, everyone. Honored guests, families of the members of No. 2, Anne-Marie, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really humbled and privileged to be standing before you to talk about a number of men who served Canada and served Canada well. Let me start with the present. I learned a number of years ago in navigation that in order for you to go to your destination, you need to look back at your past. In 1990, I met a man by the name of Jim Fraser. Those of you from Nova Scotia, you probably know him. He was the most senior black non-commissioned officer in Ontario. As a matter of fact, he was the top regimental sergeant major in Ontario and became my mentor. Through his mentorship in 1998, I became the first black regimental sergeant major for the Toronto Scottish Regiment. Yes, the Scottish Regiment. And I wore it kilt and I wore it proudly. Seeing Jim as a man in that position, it was easier for me to achieve my goal. And in achieving my goal, we both served as regimental sergeant major for an infantry battalion. And that is significant when you think of the story of the No. 2. War broke out and we had World War I. We had a number of men across Canada who said, I want to serve my country. And in that, the government accepted them wholeheartedly. But did I say that the men that were accepted were all white? So we had a number of black men who said, I want to serve. I want to serve Canada just like everybody else because I am Canadian. The government of the day said, thank you, but go home. We don't want you. You're undisciplined and you don't fit in. Somebody said you can't really fight the government. Well, in this case, they did. They kept on going back. They were men who said, I'm not going to take no and go home. If it was me, I would go home and sit with my family, have a cup of tea, said I did my thing, and they sent me home. But not these men. They kept on fighting. And then eventually, we saw that something happened. We speak of a lot of heroes, but the heroism for the No. 2 didn't begin when they were fighting the enemies who were the Germans, but it began when they fought the enemy that was prejudiced in Canada. We were told that, sitting over there today, none of us that's sitting there would be able to sit. But because of a fight like what happened with the No. 2, when I walked in there today, I sat with a pride that I've never felt before. Because never have I sat there, but now I can do it. Now, these men were accepted. And when they were accepted, guess what? The government said, now that we'll take you in, come on in, but you're going to be all by yourself. That brought some problems. The two officers that were offered to lead the No. 2 were told that they're seasoned officers, and did I mention that they're white? All the men of the number 2 were black, but the officers were white. The first 2 that got the offer said, no, we don't want it. But Lieutenant Colonel Sutherland said, yes, I will serve my country by leading the number 2 Construction Battalion. But the problem now came in where the men are saying, we want to fight for Canada, but why are we segregated? We would like to be with everybody else. Although there was a challenge, they still stepped up to the opportunity to serve in the number 2. What happened next? They weren't given weapons like other soldiers. They weren't given a rifle and a bayonet, but they were given a pickaxe, a shovel, so that they can do what their ancestors did. But that's another to speak. They were told that they would prepare roads for the soldiers to travel on, prepare trenches for the real soldiers to fight from, just as servants of the military. But they did that with pride. They did that with honor, because they were serving their country. They were doing what was required. Today, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the number 2. We celebrate the number 2 because they were men of integrity. They were men of courage. They were men who fought for family, home, and country. Somebody said, resistance is in the DNA. So regardless of whatever is going on, we as a people stand proud and said, we're here. And we're not here just to sit on the shelf or on the fence, but we're here to have an impact on individuals. The torch has been passed on from the number 2 to us. And if I speak, seeing where we are today, we have some challenges. As black men, the torch is passed on for us to be men of integrity. So therefore, it is unacceptable for us as men not to do the best. It is unacceptable for us as people not to do the best that we can. It's unacceptable to drop out of school. It is unacceptable to say that I can't do it. It is unacceptable to be coming to court because we're not following the laws and the integrity of the men of the number 2. We stand today on the shoulders of brave men of number 2, and God bless them for what they've done.